Hey guys, it's me again. Today's pretty much going to be a really long session about why Legacy of Kain series needs to be brought back. Um, those of you who don't know what the Legacy of Kain series are, let me go ahead and explain to you what they are. It first started back on the PS1 with Legacy of Kain. Basically, you ended up being a nobleman who ended up being killed. You were brought back by a necromancer and then next thing you know, you turn into a vampire, you kill stuff, you take down the Kingdom of Nazgûl. And then you ended up having Soul Reaver, which is a sequel to Legacy of Kain. It's all part of the same universe, where you play as vampiric first lieutenant of Kain, the Vampire King. And, of course, he ends up killing you, and then you end up trying to find him to kill him. It ended up being one big giant storyline to it that is pretty cool. Then you had Soul Reaver 2, and then Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 2. And then you had Legacy of Kain, Defiance, which is the final one. The reason why they need to bring this game back is because of the fact it's probably by far one of the coolest games that there ever was. It's one of those games where it was a puzzle game, it was a platformer game, it was a story-based game, it was everything all rolled up into one. It's one of those games that I believe if they were to bring it back, it would do amazingly out there now. The overall graphics of the game, considering the fact that it was a PS1, PS2 game, are obviously not up to par what it is now. The Legacy of Kain Defiance one was pretty cool. It stayed. The thing that I liked about it the most is that it stayed true to the graphics that they had for Soul Reaver 2 and everything else like that. I love the game. Highly recommend it. If you don't have it or if you've never played it, play the game. It is great. It is fun. With that being said, it had probably one of the biggest underground cult followings in the entire world, I want to say. It wasn't a game that was very widely known, but the main reason why I think it is because a lot of people thought it was like a vampire game, like Blood Rain or something else like that, which is completely not the case. It was a very, very complicated storyline. A lot of people probably didn't understand it. It had a lot to do with time travel, the quantum leaping theories, and things like that, where it was like, it set in, like I said, it's an old-timer game to the point where it's set back like in the Middle Ages, where you're a vampire, and they're still talking about time travel and complicated subjects like that. All the games that came out for it were actually really, really cool. They were really, really well done. They were pretty basic for their time. I mean, it was what it was. It was Eidos Studios is the one who actually ended up putting it out. So, with that being said, they need to hurry up and put out another one. I know Eidos is probably gone by now, but you need to put out another one. You need to put out another one. Everybody who has played Legacy of Kain or anything else has loved the game. It's not a game where it's a hit or miss. You're gonna love the game if you have played it. So please bring back Legacy of Kain as much as you possibly can. I did hear at one point they were actually making one for the PS3 and the Xbox 360, but they ended up shutting it down because of the fact that they couldn't grasp what to do next. If that's the case, you guys are jackasses. Like I said before, if it were to come out now, I guarantee it would be one of those big, giant selling games. Nothing like Call of Duty or anything, which I hate Call of Duty. Yeah, I know, I hate Call of Duty. With that being said, though, Legacy of Kain was an overall complex game where the puzzles weren't simple. They weren't something that you were going to get in like 2 or 3 minutes after watching it. It wasn't that case. A lot of people that I talked to who like the game also said that the aspect of the game, of the time traveling, the overall combat system of it was amazing, which it really was. I mean, here you are, you have Soul Reaver is a sword, a vampiric sword that Raziel ends up you just have to play the game. It's one of those games where it's got so many twists and turns. If you haven't played one game, you're not going to understand any of it, which is great because you actually had to play them in a series. If you missed one, you couldn't just be like, oh well, it's going to tell me what happened in the other one. No, that's not the case at all. Just like Blood Omen 2, which historically inside the game universe happens way before Soul Reaver 1. You would never understand the ending of Soul Reaver 2 without beating Blood Omen 2. But it's one of those games where it's such a complex universe that people just love the aspect. If it made you want to keep playing and playing a game. The fighting system for it was amazing. I enjoyed it. It was one of those things where you lock on, you block, just hold down this, so on and so forth. The complexity of the game, in other words, meaning difficulty-wise, even on normal, it was still hard as hell because you're facing things that are twice as strong and twice as big as you are. Not only that, though, but you had powers that you could use. You could assassinate people. You can stealth kill, so on and so forth. It was just overall one of those games that I wish they would bring back to the point where it is so much fun to play. It's just, I'll put it to you this way. It's just like Mass Effect is to me what Legacy of Kain was. Legacy of Kain was the first Mass Effect for me. Let me clarify something up right now. It's not anything like Mass Effect. It's not like you can choose what you want to do, so on and so forth. It's still a closed universe. But, like, for example, in the first Soul Reaver, it got to the point where I couldn't figure out where I had to go. And you really have to spend time playing the game to understand where you need to go, what you need to do, and how you need to do it. It's not one of those things where it's an open, clear-cut book. It's a lot like how Darksiders came out is that it was, pretty much the same premise behind Darksiders as what Legacy of Kain was. Whereas the boss battles themselves are a puzzle. You need to figure them out. You need to figure out what it's like. You need to figure out where you need to go. You need to figure out how to kill the bosses. So it's just overall, it was one of those challenging games to the point where it was actually just a big giant brain game almost. Sort of kind of like ICO and Shadow of Colossus were. With that being said, the overall premise that I want to get out to everybody is that when a really good video game comes out, like even if it's underground or if it's a cult classic type of thing, you really, really need to have your voice heard about it. Because if not, they're going to stop making the game, just like they did with Legacy of Kain. Another good point of Legacy of Kain was the voice acting. The voice acting was absolutely phenomenal. Simon Templeton, which does a lot of games, he was the voice of Kain. The original person who did Transformers, Ninja Turtles, and things like that, one of the voice actors, Michael Bell, I believe his name is, he was in it. He did the voice of Raziel. So it's one of those things where overall, it's a challenging game. It's in a Rubik's Cube that likes to fight back, in a sense. With that being said, that's pretty much going to be it for the ranting and raving about Legacy of Kain. If you've never played it, if you still have a PS2 or a PS1, or if I don't even know if they created a download yet for it on Xbox 360 or not, definitely at least buy it, rent it, play a little bit of it. You're fine without playing the first Blood Omen, which is Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 1, for PS1. But definitely start out with Soul Reaver. If you really want to have a good, challenging game. And with that being said, overall it's a challenging game, which is something that a lot of people that I think is missing from these days. But anyways, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and log off now. Remember, if you can find it anywhere, buy it. If you can download it, do what you got to do to get it. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and salute y'all, say goodbye, and keep on rocking on.